Hi, I'm Patrick Dunnican. At Gibbons, we believe that citizens need to be informed about the complex issues that affect their lives. That's why we're proud to support the programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation and their partners in public television.
Funding for this edition of State of Affairs with Steve Adubato has been provided by the law firm of Gibbons, P.C., RWJ Barnabas Health, NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 825, PSC&G, committed to providing safe, reliable energy now and in the future. And by Keystone Mountain Lakes Regional Council of Carpenters. Your future is in our building. Promotional support provided by Insider NJ and by NJ Advance Media.
Welcome to State of Affairs. I'm Steve Adubato. We're coming to you from the Agnes Varis NJ TV studio in Newark. We're pleased to once again welcome the Senate President in the great state of New Jersey, Senator Steve Sweeney. Good to see you, Senator.
It's good to see you, Steve.
Let's jump right into this. Path to Progress is a report that has been researched, submitted, and now says, what are the keys to fiscal health in New Jersey?
Well, look, there's several.
But you started this whole thing.
Well, yeah, I just asked a bunch of experts, basically the best New Jersey has, not partisan in any way at all, just experts. How do we fix what's wrong? And they came up with, 200 recommendations. We whittled it down to, I think it's 36 or 27. I forget the number now. It's been a little while. But it's hitting at the things that we all know need to be done, but they're the hard things.
Top of the list.
Pension reform, healthcare reform, school consolidation, things that we've talked about for years that is now to a point, these are the big things that have to get done in order to save billions of dollars for taxpayers. Because New Jersey's biggest problem is cost. And without addressing the problems, we're just going to keep pouring money in it. And looking for new taxes to raise without fixing the structural problems doesn't work.
By the way, if you listen to us on the audio side, Senator Steve Sweeney, Senate President Steve Sweeney is with us on State of Affairs. I'm Steve Adubato. Question is this. New Jersey's fiscal health, one of the issues that you and the governor disagree on is that he believes strongly that in order to strengthen the fiscal health of the state, we need to, in fact, increase taxes on those who earn the most money. After $1 million, every dollar is taxed more. He says if we don't do that, we're not going to have money for a lot of the programs that people want.
He's wrong because those are the people that can leave, and after the federal salt, the
state and local tax deduction with President Trump, the federal law?
Yes.
Cap at 10 grand, that's it?
Yeah.
State income tax, property taxes, more than that, you're on your own.
Exactly.
Can't write it off. Go ahead.
So now you have a population that's just got hit with another tax because people didn't mind paying them as much because they wrote them off. Now they can't. And my point is, if you want to talk about revenue raisers, fix the structural problems first, then you'll know what you need. And then if you have to talk about taxes, then talk about them. But without fixing what's wrong in New Jersey, and this is where I am really frustrated with the governor that wrote a report when Dick Cody was the governor.
Let's make it clear, Senator Dick Cody, then acting governor, Dick Cody, he had a commission that looked at the pension situation, and Governor Murphy at the time, private citizen, did what?
He chaired it and wrote the report that said we needed dramatic change, that this wasn't sustainable. That was back in 2004.
You're talking about the pension and health care situation with public employees.
Steve, back then, the deficit was $11 billion. Today, the pension deficit's over $100 billion, it's about 150, and 115. And our healthcare, retiree healthcare deficit is over $100 billion. So now we're about 220 billion, not million, in the hole. So you can't raise taxes enough to fill that hole.
When does the bill come due?
The bill's coming due now. And if we don't fix the pension soon, If we don't fix the pension soon, by 2023, you're going to have a $4 billion deficit in New Jersey.
In the budget?
Yeah, without a reset, without a recession. So if I give you the millionaire's tax, right? If I give you the millionaire's tax.
What does it bring in?
It's inflated the number they use, but I'll give it to them, $536 million.
And increased revenue to the state. Go ahead.
If no one leaves. So, okay, I'll give it to them, 536. What about the other, the other $2.5 billion? Steve, we can't raise taxes to get us out of this. We need to make structural reforms. Listen, I want to make sure teachers have good pensions. Same with all public employees. But other states, 12 other states in this country, have changed their pension structure.
But we have to, respectfully, Senate President Steve Sweeney with us on State of Affairs. I'm Steve Adubato. A few years ago, didn't you, together with Republican Governor Chris Christie, work on this, and there was pension reform?
It wasn't enough, though, Steve. That's the problem. We did what we could get done, because these are big things. Like I said, these are things you talk about forever, and it's very rare you do. If we don't do this, Oregon just did it. Portland, Oregon, the state of Oregon, just changed their pension system. Democrat governor, Democrat legislature, both houses.
What do you mean change? Be specific.
Well,
like what? Be specific as to what needs to be done.
In 2003, they went to a hybrid system, which was so much like the first 40,000, this is what we're proposing, is a pension. Anything above that is basically annuity. Like, we're going to take a percentage of your income, put it in annuity, invest it. That's what Oregon has.
Isn't that risky with the stock market being so volatile?
No, because when you're doing, I won't call it a 401k. I'm calling it an annuity.
Some do, but go ahead.
But I won't for one reason, because there's no match. So if you're doing it, that's what the other states do. But you don't put it in high risk. I deal with annuities all the time.
In your work,
as an iron worker.
Yes, and who deals with that union very directly.
And we all have annuities to supplement the pensions. But this way, you start to change, Steve. You start to move the process. If we do it today, 30 years from now, it'll be fixed. But if we don't do it, in Oregon, when they did it, their pension funding dropped from 90% to 80%. And the governor and the legislature made changes to it again, legislatively. We're in like the high 30s. We're almost bankrupt, and people don't realize it.
You use that word sometimes, and is that the right word, or
Yes.
is that hyperbole, an exaggeration?
It's not an exaggeration. If we continue the course we're going to be bankrupt. And here's the bigger problem. We can't fund anything, Steve. Everything has to go to pension and health care now. Everything. When you look at this budget, we're squeezing pennies here and there to do additional things. If the pension system had not been played with, starting with the Whitman administration, the pension payment would have been $800 million.
When you say played with, either not put money into or taking money out. Go ahead.
Bonding, and then government's not funding.
Right.
But look, there was a little secret to that one.
I shouldn't say taking money out. It wasn't taken out. But
it was bonded. They bonded the pension. But what else they did, Steve? What else they did was there was a wink and a nod when the pension payments weren't being made. I was there. I watched it. And I was like, what are you guys going to do with your pension?
What did they think was going to happen when the bill came due?
Well, the problem is they weren't going to be there. The people that made these decisions, the people that are here today are not the ones that made the decisions. So I don't blame them.
But you and the governor and the other legislators down, other state leaders, it's your job to, quote, deal with it.
That's where we are.
So let me ask you, say it doesn't happen. What does it mean for the average citizen in New Jersey, not a policymaker, not an insider, not somebody who follows what's going on in the state capitol every day? What would it mean to their lives?
They're going to have to find ways to raise taxes, whether it's increased sales taxes. Look, if the pension system goes broke and we have to start paying out $6 billion a year, and we're not far from that. There's zones like a green, yellow, and red when you're in trouble with pensions. We're in the 30s, high 30s, and it keeps dropping as we keep putting more money into it. So, Steve, it's one of these things that it's not working. No matter how much money we will continue to fund our full obligation, knowing a recession's coming.
Say a recession's coming. Could it mean, Senate President Sweeney, that fewer state dollars to public schools in your community? Could it mean that?
Absolutely.
Could it mean fewer dollars for women's health care services?
All across the board.
Fewer dollars for infrastructure projects?
Well, no, we dedicated
You got the Transportation Trust Fund. Yeah,
but how about higher education, where we have the second most expensive higher education system? Oh, yeah. Everyone's going to have to take a cut because there's no funding for anything.
By the way, real quick, switch gears on this. It's a fiscal issue as well. You and the governor appear to be at loggerheads on this. There are several institutions of higher learning, some of whom we collaborate with, and other entities, cancer funding in one of the initiatives. Where is that? I think it's $10 million.
That they froze in Camden.
Okay, make that clear.
100%.
Okay, so there's $230 some odd million frozen from what the legislature wanted to pass in the budget, and the governor said, no, we're not doing that. And how much of that is policy driven? There's a question here, trust me. How much of it is policy driven and just the fact that the two of you often don't get along?
It was politics. Steve, you know why you know it was politics? Because 80% of what he froze is what he put in the budget. When he attacked the legislature saying we filled the budget with pork, right? And he said, I'm
Pork
repeating.
meaning projects that are just for your district? Go ahead.
And he said it. Well, then freeze those projects. If you're feeling they're not worthy, freeze them. But you froze 80% of the projects that were meant to help people. Why is all the cancer funding frozen, all of it, in southern New Jersey, but they
You
funded
think it was
northern?
targeted to southern New Jersey?
Well, listen,
partly because you're there?
No. There's things in Essex County
Yeah,
that
there
were
are.
targeted.
There's a zoo I know of, Turtleback Zoo.
There was things in Essex, there's things in Central, but they were targeted for anybody that resisted and disagreed. And unfortunately, Steve, look, this gets personal for me. I lost my mother and my brother to cancer. Why would you deny people in southern New Jersey dollars to deal with cancer treatment? It's offensive and it's unfair. You know, I went after Chris Christie when he cut a budget one time and called him a whole bunch of bad names. I don't know what to say when Phil Murphy says, why support these things? Well, then fund them. Because, by the way, they can't answer one question, not one question, how they came up with a list. And what they tell you.
Of what they weren't going to fund.
Yeah. And what they say, the executive order speaks for itself. I said, no. Well, tell me who was in a room and who made the decisions and why this was funded and this wasn't funded. And why would you freeze 80% of your own funding?
Stay on that, Senator. I want to make something clear. Senate President Steve Sweeney with us here, Steve Adubato here at the studios of NJTV for State of Affairs. You may be asking yourself, what does the governor have to say about this? I want to be really clear about this. We have and will continue to work with the governor's office to try to get him in this studio for a State of Affairs interview so that he can offer his perspective on this. I want to make it clear, we've tried. It's been a scheduling issue to date. We will get that done. That being said.
I would love to see him.
Okay, can we do this?
Sure.
Quick. You've called for a ban on vaping.
Yes.
30 seconds. Why?
Because it's an epidemic right now, and you know, these vaping stores are actually using products that are illegal products out of, you know, they talk about the corner, Steve. They're getting them out of China. They're getting into the stream, and people are getting sick. It's worse than cigarettes, because cigarettes is a chronic effect. It takes a long time. This is an acute effect where you vape one night and the next day you're in the hospital.
You believe that this ban is possible?
Yes.
There's support for it?
Yes.
Governor Murphy communicated that he would be supportive?
He didn't communicate he wouldn't, and he called for everyone to stop banning immediately. You saw
Not to stop banning, to ban him.
to stop vaping immediately.
Okay.
And you know, Governor Cuomo's just came out with an announcement.
And President Trump has said some things on this.
God, it scares me. But
he said something similar.
He's right. He's right on this. I can't believe I'm agreeing with him, but he's
On
right
this?
on this. Yes.
Do this one. Marijuana.
Yeah.
How far away are we from the legalization of cannabis / marijuana in the state of New Jersey? The governor wants it.
I want it, so does the speaker.
Speaker Craig Coughlin wants it. So what stands in the way?
Some of my members. And we're going to push in lame duck to get it done. If not, we'll put
Lame duck meaning after the November election,
the
up
November
until
election.
January, the new legislature takes over.
January,
Go ahead.
whatever, mid-January. And if not, we'll prepare a ballot initiative that we know will be successful.
Okay, real quick, I've talked about this before. We have an initiative called Right from the Start NJ, focusing on childcare for infants and toddlers, improving that situation. It's just been $54 million of state money going to that. What more do we need to do?
Well, you know, Steve, we need to fund more, to be perfectly honest with you. And like Teresa Ruiz, Senator Ruiz, and myself, she's the champion for pre-K. You know, right?
She sure has. She has a small child as well. I'm very focused on this.
We need to get to birth. We need to get children at birth. My daughter was a preemie. She has Down syndrome. She was in early intervention. The earlier you get someone, the more they learn. Your brain, 85% of your brain develops from birth to 5 years old. So we should be looking at putting as much money in as we can early, because it's that old Fram commercial, pay me now, pay me later.
Got to pay either way.
You make that investment up front.
Senate President Steve Sweeney, thank you for joining us, and I'm glad that you're here in the next few seconds as we acknowledge that State Senator Tony Bucco, who served in the legislature for many years, 81 years of age, joined us many times on State of Affairs. A gentleman, a class act, someone who always would disagree without being disagreeable, and we lost him. The state has lost him, an important public servant. And I just want to acknowledge that on behalf of everyone here at State of Affairs, NJTV, the public television family, that we wish the Bucco family all the best. Rest in peace, Tony Bucco.
The way you described him is exactly how he was. He's a gentleman, a class act. You couldn't find a bad word to say about him. Steve, the thing that's it's really sad is I've really considered him a very good friend, and I'm heartbroken that he passed. You know, he had some tough times recently, but I thought he was getting beyond them. And you know, he was a tough guy too. He stood his ground, but he stood his ground. But one thing you knew, when Tony Bucco gave you his word, it was gold.
Thank you, Senator.
Thanks, sir.
This is State of Affairs. I'm Steve Adubato. We'll be right back.
To see more State of Affairs with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at stateofaffairsnj.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD. And follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
We are honored to be joined by the mayor of the great city of Newark, Ras Baraka. Good to see you, Mayor.
Good to be here.
The issue that we need to talk about, that everyone's talking about, is the Newark Newark Water situation. As succinctly as possible, what is the problem and how did it get to be where it is?
Well, the city of Newark has older homes that have service lines that bring water into their home that are made out of lead. The service lines are actually owned by the homeowner. They have to be removed. They've been there for centuries. You know, maybe 25, 30 years ago, the city began putting corrosion control in the water to stop the lead from coming from the pipes and getting into the water. It began to fail somewhere around 2017 or so. It began to fail. And so when we got proof that it was absolutely failing.
Proof by whom?
The EPA, Environmental Protection Agency.
So the federal government directly involved?
Yes. So we do all the testing. So it's this characterization that people come and test our water. We do all the testing.
City does?
City. And then we report what we find. So we reported high levels of lead. We couldn't explain why we were getting high levels of lead in the beginning, so we cut a pipe out of the ground and sent it to the EPA. The EPA scientists looked at it and told us that the corrosion control was failing and that we had to get a new corrosion control.
In 17?
They told us in 2018 that it was failing.
So where do the filters come in? Sorry for jumping.
2018, we started giving out filters.
Explain the water filters. They're not city water filters. They're put out by a manufacturer.
Right. They're by Pure Water Company, Pure Filter Company, excuse me, who manufactures filters for people all over the country, the world for that matter. People use them everywhere. They're NSF certified. They were approved by the EPA. We put 39,000 of them out. We started in October 2018. We did 3 tests and found 2 of them were not working to the capacity that we thought they should work to.
Mayor, sorry for interrupting. Why only 3? Because that number confused me and I'm sure a lot of other people.
Because it wasn't a formal kind of test, right, to test filters. What we were actually testing was the new orthophosphate that we were actually putting in the water, right? So we were testing that to come in one end and come out the other end. So we tested a home in the North Water, one in the South, and one in the West to test to see if the new chemical was actually getting through the pipes.
And 2 of 3 said what?
So they reduced lead, but not below 15 parts per billion, or not below.
Yeah, try to explain that one.
Right. Well, lead and copper rule says that you can only have up to 15 parts per billion of lead in your water. It did not reduce it below that. So in our mind, they failed. One of them actually did. We tested since then 225 filters, 6 times a piece. You know, with a whole kind of group of people who tested it, a whole protocol. And so we should have those results back.
But as we do this program, do not have them.
Well, actually, they do have them, and they're working on the findings of it. I'm very optimistic of what it's going to say. But you know, they're looking at the findings of it now. We'll be able to say something to the public by the end of this week or the beginning of next.
Long-term fix, the County of Essex, the County Executive, Joe DiVincenzo, you can check out an NJTV News story on this, together with the mayor and Governor Murphy. There was a press conference. The county came in and helped you bond for $120 million.
Yes.
To do what, and how's that paid?
To pull the lead service lines out of people's homes. You know, a while ago, we actually had to get the law changed on the state level to allow the city to be able to do that. That was, you know, most people don't know about that because we're using public money to fix people's private homes. So we were allowed to do that. So we began doing that. We've changed maybe 900 lead service lines already outside of the county's money. And that would have taken us about 8 years to complete. If we would have continued the way we were doing it.
And with this bonding with Essex County?
About 24 to 30 months tops.
What will happen in 24 to 30 months? Make it clear to
Every
folks.
18,000 lead service lines in the city of Newark, Belleville, and Hillside will change all their lead service.
The mayor mentions Belleville and Hillside because, if I'm not mistaken, the water in those communities, as well as the water in Newark, comes from?
The Wanacue system. Excuse me, the Pequannock system.
Not the Wanacue system.
Not the Wanacue, the Pequannock
system.
Yeah, Pequannock system.
Help us on this, Mayor. This is also not easy because there are certain homeowners, don't they? I don't want to call it eminent domain, but aren't there certain issues as to whether homeowners will allow you in or not to do these things?
Yeah, we do have to get their permission. We have introduced a law to the city council that would allow us to go on people's property through home rule and change their pipes, even if we can't get in touch with them, if they're being too difficult, or things of that.
What about 70% of the folks in the city living in rental properties? What about those landlords?
Well, that law will help us go onto their property and change those pipes.
So, Mayor, to those who have been critical, both in the media and community groups, there's also the Natural Resources Defense Council.
Right.
You laugh as I say it. They're bringing a lawsuit against the city.
Yeah.
For those who have argued, you know what? The city hasn't been as transparent as it should be. The mayor hasn't been as transparent as he needs to be on this in terms of when this happened, when they knew about it, and what the danger was. You say?
I say that's incorrect, and it's people are creating information that's just not true. Every time that people know we have lead in the water is because we did it. We told them. We did the test. 2016, when it was lead in the schools, we reported that, which changed the state's testing system around the entire state. 2017, we reported it. 2018, we reported it. We keep reporting it. We reported the filters are not working. We did that.
But Mayor, real quick, you had said at a certain point, quote, the water is absolutely safe to drink. Now, this problem is not a new one. There's about 2.5 years that you've known about this. When you said this water is, quote, absolutely safe to drink.
Did you read the whole thing?
Go ahead, put it in context.
Right, because what people have been doing, led by NRDC, has been putting that up there.
That group, the National Resources Defense Council, I'm sorry.
Put this thing up there, Newark, the water is safe to drink, right? When you keep reading that, it says, unless you have an older home or a lead service line. That's what it says.
That's the rest of the quote.
That's the rest of the quote. If you have a lead service line, or if you live in an older home, you have a problem. It says that on the robocalls. Now, we can argue or quibble about if we think that is, effective, right? Or if it causes confusion. But to say we misled people a lot is just not true.
Well, there's intent and then there's execution.
Right.
In golf, we call it a mulligan.
Right.
Would you have said it differently, given how easy that is to take out of context?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's confusion, right? So people have made it cause further confusion by just reading the byline, which is like when you read any paper. The paper says lead is downtown Newark. And then you go further on and read it, and you find out one building had a test that was incorrect, or the people in Elizabeth don't want Newark's water based on this, and then you find out it's not true.
But if you're looking at yourself, you say to yourself, you know what? There was a better way to say that. I wish I hadn't made that quote. I'm not putting words in your mouth. I'm just asking you, in learning from this.
Sure, there's always a better way to say it. I think that because of the confusion that it is causing, but to characterize it as us misleading or lying is just not true.
Is there a trust-related issue here now, too? In the eyes of some?
Sure, absolutely.
And you do what today? I'm a student of leadership. You are a leader. You say what? This is a challenge of regaining the trust of some. You do what now?
Well, we continue to solve the problem. That's what I've been trying to do from the very beginning. That's all we're going to do. We're going to solve the problem. We're going to move every lead service line out of the city of Newark and surrounding cities, for that matter, that you know, access our water, that have lead service lines. We're going to remove them. Even
That's
when we
Newark's
put the
responsibility. Why isn't it Bloomfield and these other communities that are
It's
getting
actually
water from the
it's
same
actually
place?
the homeowner's responsibility. It's actually the homeowner's responsibility, not the municipalities, because the lead service line belongs to the homeowner. But we're taking responsibility for it because we know it's too costly for homeowners to remove.
Of course, they can't afford that.
Right, they can't afford it. So the city is taking responsibility for it. We are raising the money for it with the help of Joe
county.
D. and Essex County.
By the way, how that loan, $120 million loan, paid off how and by whom?
Well, the city has to pay it off over a 30-year period.
Does that mean taxpayers?
Well, no, initially it will be, like generally it would be taxpayers if we did not have another.
Like $1,000 per citizen, if I'm not mistaken.
If we didn't know how to have another source of funding. But we do. We have other sources of funding that would allow us to pay the debt service without raising taxes.
You're confident 24 to 30 months from now, Mayor, we will be having a very different conversation about water in the city?
Sure, maybe sooner. And we're doing this even after we put the new orthophosphate, the new corrosion control in the water. So we anticipate that lead levels will begin dropping by the end of the year.
Before I let you out of here, anyone who says Flint, Newark in the same sentence, you say?
I say Flint changed their water source on purpose. They didn't put corrosion control in the water because it was too costly. Ours failed. We were always in compliance with the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. Flint was not in compliance with the EPA or the DEP, and so Newark was.
Mayor Ras Baraka of Brick City, Newark, New Jersey, I want to thank you for joining us and
Thanks for having me,
sharing your perspective on this. All the best. Stay right there. This has been State of Affairs. We want to continue the conversation, so follow me on Twitter at Steve Adubato. Make sure we see you next time. Thank you, Mayor.
State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 30 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of State of Affairs with Steve Adubato has been provided by the law firm of Gibbons, P.C., J. Barnabas Health, NJIT, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 825, PSE&G, Keystone Mountain Lakes Regional Council of Carpenters, and by these public-spirited organizations, individuals, and associations committed to informing New Jersey citizens about the important issues facing the Garden State, and by Employers Association of New Jersey. Promotional support provided by Insider NJ and by NJ Advance Media.
PSE&G is building New Jersey's clean energy future. We're working to protect our network against extreme weather, expanding and upgrading transmission lines, and modernizing our natural gas system by installing new, more durable underground pipes. At PSE&G, our goal is to make sure you have the safe, reliable energy you need to power your life now and into the future.